the brand new Pixel. I've been using this for the past week now since the initial hands-on date. This is the 9 Pro XL, the standard 9. There's a lot of things which I love, which I think Google is doing great. A couple things that are not so great. We'll start off with those first. The main thing is the price. So unfortunately, we've seen a pretty decent price increase, $100 across the board. The Pixel 9 starts at $799, that's USD. Canadian, that is $1099. If you upgrade to the 9 Pro, which is the same size as the 9, that's $999, $1349 Canadian, or the 9 Pro XL. So this is technically replacing, I guess, the previous 8 Pro. It's the largest device that they have. $1099 or $1499 Canadian. And that only comes with 128 gigs of storage for the Pro model. If you want to get it in one of the cooler colorways other than black, at least that's in Canada. So if you want to get this cool rose color, the hazel, which I think is a fan favorite, or even the porcelain, which is just white, you have to go for the 256 version. That is $1629. That is a lot of money for a Pixel device. A lot of people are saying that the Pro devices should come at least with 256 gigs. I totally agree. With the amount that you use your phone, with the longevity that you'll probably keep it for, 3 to 5 years, you want the higher storage space. So in terms of pricing, it's just way too much money. In terms of which one you should get, I've been rocking the XL just because I like the larger size, the larger battery, but I think most people, honestly, if you just stick to the standard 9, it's the cheapest. They actually share a lot of the same features. They've got the same G4 Tensor chip. Even the camera sensors are the same. You're just missing out on the telephoto for the standard 9, which I don't think is a big miss, but I guess one thing to note, the front-facing camera, that's still the same as last year's on the 9 as it was on the 8. That's 10.5 megapixels compared to the 42 new one found on the Pro model. The screens are also fairly similar. The 9 gets 60 to 120 hertz, whereas the 9 Pro and 9 Pro XL, that goes all the way from 1 down to 120, so it's an LTPO display. One thing that I have noticed though between them, and I can actually see that right now on camera, is the screen brightness. So 3000 nits for the Pro XL, and just 2700 for the standard 9. So you really have to decide which features are kind of worth it for you. For me, performance is the biggest one, and since these phones are already so expensive, just getting the cheapest one. Honestly, if you just wait 6 months, 7 months down the road, these will be pretty heavily discounted. If you actually look at the Pixel 8 and 8 Pros already, those are like $400 or $500 off. But in terms of the overall design, Google has kind of redesigned the look of their phones. To be honest, they look very iPhone-y. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. They've gone with a very squared off design, which I tend to be a fan of. For the non-Pro versions, it actually has a glossy back. It comes in a bit of funkier colorways and aluminum side rails, whereas on the Pros, you can see that the side railings, these are glossy, definitely pick up fingerprints more, but the back is in a matte finish. The camera visors have also been updated. They're not typically all the way across, giving that Daft Punk visor look. They're more circular. They're more of like a module, but still quite iconic Google. But if you kind of cover this, I guess including the little G on the back, you couldn't really tell what the bottom of this phone is. These all look actually very, very similar, which is a kind of a shame. I get it. They are successful at selling those phones, but the older Pixels were definitely a bit more unique looking, and it's something that I miss. In the week that I've been using it, the overall experience of it though, it's been honestly a great phone. Google has generally been known for its software, for its fluidity, for its, basic stock Android, which kind of every phone tries to emulate these days. Everything that I've thrown at it, naturally this thing crunches through as a flagship. But one little thing that I've actually really loved is just the haptics. So using the phone a lot, just kind of even something as simple as increasing or decreasing the brightness, you get this nice feedback from the phone. Obviously that's the built-in haptics, way better than the iPhone. The design change, like I said, I'm a fan of. I like the squared off feel, and it honestly just feels more like a premium flagship phone, but there was definitely a time when Google had better priced phones. They were known for their software, weren't known for having the most expensive phones, but for just having a very solid experience. That solid experience is there with the obviously premium feel, but with that comes the premium price, which I'm not the craziest about. I think Google should really kind of still focus on the software end, which is good, it's solid, and still give people that option for a more budget friendly. This phone should not cost, you know, 12, 1300 US, 15, 1600 Canadian. If it was priced better, I think we'd have a real sweet spot winner, but I get it. Everything is becoming kind of more expensive. One of the big things that obviously Google is pushing are their new AI features. So I've got to test out a lot of them. One of my favorites has actually been the screenshot feature. As an example, I've taken a bunch already. One of them is a YouTube video. It gives me a live link that I can play through. I check score updates all the time. It gives me a Chrome link to say ESPN. I can further check stats, etc. It can also pull info from any images. For example, a friend sent me over this photo of this car. I can just quickly press that down. What car is this?
The car in the image is a Bugatti Divo. It is a limited production sports car built by Bugatti from 2019 to 2020. Only 40 units were ever made, and they are all sold out.
Dope. Like, I didn't actually know that that was a Bugatti Divo. I thought that was like a Veyron. Just shows what I know / don't really know about Bugattis. So dope. AI is useful in those scenarios. And that's kind of part of their larger Gemini AI model. So things like circle to search, magic editor, and this new feature within the camera app called Add Me. So I think this went a bit viral. You can take photos of, say, yourself or a friend that's taking a photo of you, and you can stitch them in later on after frame. Once again, very specific use case. I wouldn't say that I would use it all the time. It's available. One that I actually found more useful was Reimagine Photos. That's essentially their generative AI. So you can take a photo of yourself, say, against a blank wall, and then you can select that blank area, and that will fill in something where you give it a prompt. So you can theoretically add anything. That's probably a bit more useful. It's like having Photoshop built into the editor. Will you use that every day? Probably not, but you'd still probably use it more than a lot of those co-create things, you know, where you can just sketch something on your phone and it'll create an image. I find those honestly super gimmicky. You maybe use it to show off your phone for the first time, but after that, you'll never use it again. For the actual camera specs though, so we have new sensors for the main. That's a 50 megapixel with optical image stabilization. You've got a 48 megapixel wide and the 48 megapixel telephoto, obviously if you have the Pro model. Camera performance, as expected, has been really good. Dynamic range is great, color reproduction is good, and I forgot to mention more RAM on the Pro model. So this has 16 gigs versus the 12 on the 9. And technically, according to Google, that extra RAM in the Pro models are really needed for those extra AI features, which, once again, interesting. You can still do them on the standard 9, the non-Pro, but I guess it makes more of a difference if you have a Pro device. I haven't noticed a big difference in performance between the two, but that's what Google says. And what I've noticed taking photos with this in the wild, the photos just look super good. That's something that Google has always been known for. It's their computational photography, how well their images look. And I can definitely say this is the best Android camera that I use. These photos honestly look great. And even the front-facing selfie on the Pro models has definitely been improved, noticeably better than the previous gen, than last year, or even the standard 9. So if you're a big selfie user, maybe the Pro is for you. And when you compare this to a lot of other Android flagships, Samsung, I'm looking at you with their photo processing, typically too saturated, a bit too harsh, too sharp. These just look great out of camera, not too much post-processing. In terms of battery life, we definitely see an improvement, especially for the larger model. So 5060 for the XL, 4700 for the standard Pro, or just the standard 9. That's one of the main reasons why I'm always like an XL or large phone user. You want that battery to last you the entire day. So this will last 24 hours. That's typically like one full day of heavy use, especially as I've been testing it. But it does have quite quick fast charging. If you grab Google's fast charger, obviously not included in this box, which literally comes with nothing. That's 45 watts. I did not get that. Typically wired is 37. Wireless charging 23 watts, or reverse wireless charging for 5 watts. But like I said, if you're on your device all the time and you're just like a heavy power user, the XL makes sense. But I think most people, especially with that really fast wired charging, can get by with these smaller versions. So overall, Google has done a really good job, I think, with the 9 Pro, 9 XL. It feels more premium. It feels like an updated phone. But on the flip side, which when it comes down to it, price is the most important thing. Just sadly too expensive, and now that kind of slots into the other premium flagships like, you know, what Samsung is offering, what iPhone is offering, what Apple is offering. It's an expensive phone at over $1,000. Like I said, my recommended one is still the standard 9. Wait 5-6 months, this will come down $300-400 off. The AI features, you're not gonna use all of them. Some of them are useful, most of them maybe just like a one-time off kind of thing, but let me know your thoughts about the Pixels down below if you're gonna grab one, if you're gonna pass this year, and I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace.